The envelope felt heavier than usual that Tuesday. Not physically, of course, but the weight of anticipation, or dread, pressed down on my chest as I tore it open. It was the monthly credit card statement, and I'd been working hard to chip away at that balance. I expected to see progress, a smaller minimum payment, some sign that my diligent efforts were actually doing something. Instead, my eyes locked onto the number for the minimum due. It was significantly higher than last month, and certainly higher than I had mentally prepared for. A cold knot formed in my stomach as I scanned the details. There it was, in stark, unforgiving print. Accumulated interest. It wasn't just a line item, it was a monster, swallowing nearly all of my recent payments. The money I'd painstakingly sent off, the extra hours I'd put in, the small sacrifices I'd made. They had barely touched the principal. It was like I was running on a treadmill, sprinting as fast as I could, only to find myself in the exact same spot, or worse, falling further behind. The numbers on the statement weren't just figures. They were a trap, a cycle I was caught in, spinning faster with each passing month. My efforts felt pointless, drained away by an invisible force. I didn't panic. There was no sudden outburst, no throwing of the statement across the room. Instead, a quiet, almost unsettling calm settled over me. My breath hitched for a second, then steadied. I reread the statement, every line, every fee, every percentage point. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about something bigger, something more fundamental. This wasn't just about money. It's about reclaiming financial freedom from the invisible chains of interest. This wasn't a game I was losing. It was a game whose rules I hadn't fully understood. And now, finally, I saw them. The cold, hard truth of how credit card debt works burrowed deep. Ignorance was no longer an option. This was a turning point. I closed the statement slowly, the crisp paper making a soft sound that echoed in the quiet room. My fingers traced the raised numbers on the card itself, a plastic symbol of a problem that had grown far too large. A plan, still hazy around the edges, began to form in my mind. This feeling, this suffocating weight of debt, this frustration of efforts yielding so little. This was the last time. I promised myself it would be the last time I felt this way about money, about debt. There had to be a way out, a path to break free from these invisible chains. I just needed to find it. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. That moment with the statement wasn't the beginning of my debt, but it was the end of my denial. Looking back, the slide into credit card debt had been so gradual, almost imperceptible at first. It started innocently enough, like it does for so many people. I was in my late 20s, working a decent job, living in a modest apartment in a city that was slowly but surely getting more expensive. My neighborhood, once a quiet, affordable place, was seeing new cafes and boutiques pop up, pushing up rents and the general cost of living. I wasn't living lavishly, not by any stretch. My routine was pretty standard. Work, home, maybe a casual dinner with friends on a Friday night, the occasional movie. There was this subtle pressure, though, to keep up, to not feel completely left behind as my surroundings changed. My first credit card was for building credit, a responsible adult thing to do, I thought. I used it for small purchases, paid it off in full every month. Then came the unexpected things, the kind of life events that hit you hard if you don't have a solid emergency fund. First, my car, an older model, suddenly needed a major transmission repair. It wasn't a choice. I needed it for work. The bill was substantial, far more than I had in my meager savings account. Putting it on the credit card felt like the only option. I told myself I'd pay it off quickly. Then, a few months later, the refrigerator in my apartment decided to die. Again, an essential appliance, not a luxury. Another chunk on the card. And just when I thought things were stabilizing, a minor medical issue popped up that my insurance didn't fully cover. Each time, it wasn't about extravagant spending. It was about necessity, about life-throwing curveballs I wasn't financially prepared to catch. These weren't big, flashy purchases. They were just life happening, and my bank account not being ready for it. The problem was, each time I used the card for one of these necessary expenses, the balance grew, and the minimum payment crept up. Soon, I was no longer paying off the card in full. I was just making the minimum, telling myself it was temporary, that I'd catch up next month. But next month never quite came. The gap between paychecks felt wider, and gradually, almost without realizing it, I started using the credit card to bridge that gap. Groceries, gas, A new pair of shoes I convinced myself I needed for an interview. These small, everyday purchases started piling up. The emotional cracks began to show. That initial unease slowly morphed into a quiet anxiety that hummed beneath the surface of my daily life. Every swipe of the card, even for something mundane, came with a tiny pang of guilt. I was working hard, putting in my hours, but it felt like I was constantly treading water, perpetually behind. It was like living with a constant, low-grade fever. I wasn't in crisis, but I wasn't truly well either. The feeling of being trapped, of watching my hard-earned money evaporate into interest payments, grew stronger with each passing month. It was a silent burden, one I didn't talk about much, but it was always there, a shadow lingering over my finances and my peace of mind. The credit card had become less a tool and more a master, subtly dictating my financial choices. The shock of that statement, the realization that minimum payments were a losing battle, became my turning point. I decided then and there that I wouldn't just pay this debt, I would aggressively dismantle it. My approach had to change entirely. I spent countless evenings after work, not unwinding but diving deep into the world of debt repayment strategies. I devoured articles, watched videos, and read books. The snowball and avalanche methods became my new vocabulary. The snowball, paying off the smallest debt first for psychological wins, and the avalanche, tackling the highest interest rate first to save money. Each had their merits. I analyzed my own situation, looking at my cards, their balances, and their interest rates. The numbers, once a source of dread, now became a puzzle I was determined to solve. My strategy combined elements of both. I decided to prioritize the card with the highest interest rate, the one that was truly eating away at my payments. This was the avalanche method. But to keep myself motivated, I also incorporated a mini snowball. I identified a small balance on a store credit card, one that felt manageable to wipe out quickly. This would be my first victory, a tangible proof that my new plan could work. The next step was a systematic implementation of a strict budget. Every single dollar I spent had to be accounted for. I meticulously tracked my income and expenses, cutting out anything that wasn't absolutely essential. Gone were the casual dinners out, the spontaneous coffee runs, the impulse buys. My grocery list became a military-grade operation focused on cost efficiency. It wasn't easy. There were moments of intense longing for the simple comforts I used to allow myself. My social life took a hit. Explaining to friends why I couldn't join them for drinks or dinner became a regular, slightly awkward conversation. But the initial sacrifices, though difficult, started showing tangible progress. I also knew I needed more income. My regular job was steady, but it wasn't enough to accelerate my debt repayment at the pace I wanted. I started looking for side hustles. I sold unused items around my apartment that had been gathering dust, old electronics, books, even some clothes. Every dollar from these sales went straight to the debt. I took on freelance writing gigs in the evenings, sacrificing sleep and leisure time. It was exhausting, but seeing the numbers on my debt tracker slowly shrink provided an incredible surge of motivation. The first time I saw a significant chunk of principal disappear, not just the interest, it was a profound moment. It felt like a physical weight had been lifted. That small store credit card, my mini snowball target, was the first to go. I remember the exact day I made the final payment. I didn't frame the paid in full letter, but I kept it. A quiet trophy of my initial success. That victory fueled me. It showed me that the antagonist, this invisible credit card debt, could be systematically dismantled. With that first card gone, I channeled all the money I'd been paying on it into the next highest interest card. The momentum was real. Each payoff provided a surge of determination, a clear path forward. The journey was not without its challenges. There were days of frustration, moments when the budget felt too restrictive, when the extra work felt overwhelming. But each time I looked at the diminishing balances, I reminded myself of that shocking statement, of the invisible chains I was breaking. Eventually, one by one, the credit card balances went to zero. The feeling of making that final payment, seeing the last paid in full confirmation, was indescribable. It wasn't about becoming rich. It was about regaining control, about the profound peace of mind that came with knowing I owed nothing to those insidious interest rates. The experience left an indelible mark. I now have an emergency fund, something I never prioritized before. Financial discipline isn't a chore, it's a way of life. My life isn't dramatically different from the outside, but internally, everything has shifted. I learned that freedom isn't just about what you gain, it's about what you no longer owe.